everyone, and
What
welcome
up?
into the Golfing Dads. And welcome back, Ryan, straight from Pennsylvania, back in Michigan. I'm taking off these two gloves.
Thank you for not being late to the first tee
do two
today. You know,
I love the two gloves there, Greg. I didn't catch that at first, and then I made the picture a little larger, and I saw them on there. That's nice.
Apparently, champions wear two gloves and use iron covers. It's a new thing.
Exactly. I think you're on a trend here.
more surprising, a champion wearing two gloves and using iron covers, or Rory playing the par fives even par. Just asking for a friend. What? Like, really? Oh, Ryan, welcome back. We got a lot to dive into. There was so much that happened while you were at Aronimink. First
I
off,
think
what's
he
it
knows
like
he was there.
Yeah. You said when you jumped on here, you got off teaching 30 minutes ago. Do they realize the greatness that is teaching them? Your members?
Well, I ended a little bit, like probably an hour and a half ago, but I had to do some stuff after and just got home. But yeah, we had a storm roll in today and push things indoors, and I was looking forward to being outside in an 80-degree day, and so we had to go indoors. But here I am, and I'm glad to be here on here with you guys.
Well, we appreciate you being here.
Yeah, we appreciate you coming in, and I want to start year 2, going back as a competitor. Going back as someone who had the number one player in the world babysit his children during a rain delay last year. What was it like stepping onto the property this year 2?
I think it was a little bit easier. I knew what to expect a little bit. Having that experience last year was very helpful, I thought. I think at the same time, the crowds in Philly were bigger than at Quail. And I mean, they were massive in certain spots on the course. I mean, they were absolutely huge. And, it's hard to kind of prepare for that. I mean, I thought about it afterwards, and I'm like, how in the world was I supposed to fully prepare for that golf course where the rough was that long, the course was that long, the greens were firm, the greens were fast. There was that many people. And truthfully, it's like, I don't know. I mean, I did as best as I could, but I don't think there's any way to recreate or simulate, the environment that was out there. But last year, the experience absolutely helped. I mean, I was more comfortable, even with how big the galleries were. It was, I thought it was fun. I really did. It was like a buzz, and there were so many people. I mean, there were so many times during the tournament where I was trying to see where, my wife and kids or parents or, whoever, I just wanted to know where they were. And I literally couldn't. I mean, there were times where literally I didn't even try. I mean, it was so many people around. And I mean, when you get in the corner of like 17 and 18, I mean, gosh, it felt like there was like 6 to 8 people deep. And then you have the grandstands all there. And I mean, on the first tee, the first morning, I think it was my in-laws were front row right by me, and I had no idea they were even there. And I mean, part of it was that Rory, Spieth, and Rahm were teeing off 5 minutes after me. So there was that
They were there for you, Ryan. Let's be honest.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, 100%. They saw me abandon. They're like, I got to follow that guy. But
exactly,
there were so many people on the tee Thursday morning. But at the same time, it was so cool being in that atmosphere. And I mean, it was. The environment was absolutely incredible. I thought there were more people in the practice rounds on the course than there were during the tournament at Quail too. There was a buzz. It was crazy.
So I got to ask this because I went to school in Pennsylvania. My mom's from Pennsylvania. I grew up in New Jersey, and I will just say Philadelphia sports fans are the absolute worst. They are just terrible. They threw snowballs at Santa. They threw batteries at players. They're known.
Dave's a Phillies fan. Let's just preface that. So,
and Phillies fans are actually the better of the 4 sports there. So, 2 questions here. One, people from Pennsylvania are lovely people, and they are great people. So, even though they're the worst fans, were they hospitable to you?
Going in, I know a lot of Eagles fans and stuff. They have the reputation of,
Are you
not
sick of
being.
that chant, by the way? I heard it on TV enough. They
I,
realized it wasn't a football game.
I went into it, and I have to be honest. I mean, I thought they were great. I had no issues at all. Everyone was awesome. I have a Huskers yardage book, and I thought, not that, I guess, there's really well, maybe Penn
My
State,
Nittany
but
Lions were represented well. I saw a lot of Penn State stuff in the crowd. So
I think it helps that, Penn State beat us like 40 something to 3 or something this year. So we're not really a rival. We're not really a threat to Penn State. But they were great. I mean, they were loud. They weren't disrespectful. They didn't yell
that's
anything
good.
that was like, I thought, inappropriate. I mean, honestly, I thought like when you go to Philly, it was maybe going to be like a New York kind of thing where, just maybe gets a little out of control. But like, seriously, they were great. I was honestly impressed. They were, I mean, they came out in full force. I mean, Monday's practice round, I was like, wow, there's quite a few people out here. And then Tuesday and Wednesday, there was a lot of people. And then during the tournament, I mean, it was awesome. And I never had any bad encounters or anything. There was people yelling like, "Go Huskers, go Big Red," yelling my name, and all in good, good intentions or whatever. And yeah, no issues. So I kind of thought going into it there would be some chirping one way or another, or whatever. But I got none of that. It was pretty fun.
That's awesome. I literally grew up an hour outside of New York and an hour outside of Philly. I was right in between them, and so I grew up with all that chaos, and I love it. It's fun, but I'm glad that you enjoyed the people there and had a good time with it. So with that, we heard a lot this week, including Scotty talking about how difficult some of Thursday and Friday's pin positions were. So what was your perspective this year? How difficult was the course? How difficult were the pin positions? Was it harder than last year, or was it just the course itself that was a harder course?
Thursday was really hard, but I thought it was pretty fair. I mean, the pins were just not accessible. They were like tucked, really tough positions. I mean, if you hit it close, I feel like that would almost be a mistake with how ridiculous they were. Friday was, I think, a whole nother level. I guess trying to put it in a professional, respectable way.
Scotty wasn't real professional about it.
Yeah, I know. I wasn't a huge fan of Friday's setup. I thought it was a little ridiculous at times, and I had a shot on 17, which was my front nine the second day. And you can look at it on the shot tracker. It was like 15, 20 feet left of the flag, kind of stopped for maybe a second and then rolled into the water that was like 50 feet left of where the ball was. And, I get that, there's some spots in areas that you can't really hit it in. But I mean, my ball was on the green, looked like it kind of had stopped. And, you're 240 away. It's not like you're hitting this into 100 yards out, and I thought I had a pretty decent shot in there, and I ended up making triple, and I mean, I thought there was a couple times where I hit good shots and you simply drop shots. I mean, it's if you miss hit a shot and you hit it offline, you were in trouble. But if you hit a good shot, you still like weren't in the clear. I mean, there's I hit a shot into 14, the par 3. Pin was tucked right the second day. My ball mark was right on line with the flag. I hit a cut right into it. And it was landed 30 feet short on the green, and my ball was over like, a yard or two, just buried in deep rough. And I mean, you sit there and like, if I would have played left of the flag, it would have been in a bunker. You can't hold the green. The pin, like seriously, from the tee box, the pin, I have a picture of it on my phone. We got up to the tee and there was a group wait. And I think the fact that there was a group wait kind of shows you right there how ridiculous at the tour level the setup is when you get on the tee and the group hasn't even teed off in front of you on a par 3. And I look at number 11. It's an elevated hole. There's a huge false front to it. It was my second hole today on Friday. I teed off at 2. it was blowing 20 miles per hour downwind, and the pin was like 3 paces on, 3 paces from the right, and you can't be short of the hole. And the green slopes so severely back to front. It's where Bryson chipped it off the green when he had like a 12 or 15-foot chip shot. And like, you can't hit it past the hole. So like, where are you supposed to hit it? And that's where it kind of, to me, got a little goofy. And one of my playing partners said to me towards the end of the round, he was like, some of these pins are absolutely absurd. And I mean, I said to him up the fairway, I said, are they normally ever like, do you ever see pins and majors like, in this setup or anything? And he said, they're hard, but he's like, there's some that are like debatable here, like whether it's fair or not. And I mean, some of them are on plateaus where they drop off like 2 feet left of the hole or 2 feet right of the hole. And it was just, I mean, I had a chip shot on my second to last hole that was maybe 12 feet, if that. And if my ball kicked a foot left or right, I probably would have had 60 feet. And like, it was like a chip where you felt like you were like, if you play a miniature golf course where the pin is like on the top of a volcano. And then if you miss the volcano, it falls off. That's literally what it reminded me of. And I felt like Friday. I mean, honestly, I thought better on Friday than I did Thursday. And I scored 5 shots worse. And it was frustrating because I thought I was hitting good shots, and it didn't matter. I mean, it was kind of just one of those things where you almost kind of need to have a little luck involved. And I felt like I kept executing and hitting shots that I wanted, and you just get nothing out of it. And so I truthfully, I agreed with what Scotty said. It was I thought it was a little overkill.
So when you're playing in this event, you're not seeing other players besides who's in your group out there, and you're not listening to what they're saying until after the round. So is it more validation after the round when you hear someone like Scotty thinking the same things you did about the course setup, about the way it's playing? Was it reassuring, or was it just like, oh yeah, this was just a bad setup?
Yeah, I mean, I was out there, and I mean, it came up with one of my playing partners, and I mean, to me, it just seemed like it was so blatant. I mean, it was just like, so like, it wasn't even like, is this somewhat normal? I mean, it was like, wow, this is very odd, and, but yeah, I think it was kind of, I mean, to me, it's like, I'm not out there every week, so it's kind of hard to know 100% like what to expect, what to see, whatever. But, but to hearing those comments after, I was like, absolutely. I mean, Rory said something to the effect of like, you can't, like, they're not even accessible, there weren't many birdies because you literally couldn't get close to them. And then it's like, so then all of a sudden you're hitting it to 30, 40 feet. And there were times where you could have putted it off the green on some pin locations. And, it was just, I mean, it was hard, and you can make the argument that everybody had to play it. And I thought Thursday was just tough, and it was playing very challenging. I thought Friday was playing a little bit, just kind of a little ridiculous. And it got to the point where it just didn't matter on some of the shots that you hit. Like, you could hit a good shot and make, drop a few shots. But hearing the comments, definitely, I was like, okay, like, I think it kind of validated, on the course, there was like, this seems a little like, over the top to me. And when I heard everything afterwards, I was like, yeah, okay, it just wasn't me,
It's good to hear from a standpoint that we see this on the courses all the time, but you're actually out there playing it. And Steve, you can talk to this too. What we watched on TV looked like it was really difficult those 2 days. Like, it looked different from Saturday and Sunday.
Well, and my question, I mean, there were 193 putts at Augusta this year, and I think there were over 200 in 2 days at the PGA Championship.
Yeah.
Was that a result? And again, the wind came up, and they expected the wind to come up. And I always feel like the PGA Tour does a great job. If they know it's going to be windy, they're not going to put it at high points and things like that, where you have it on these slopes and sitting on these slopes. It seems to me that the PGA committee did not adjust based on the fact that they were going to have this wind and put these pins in a little more accessible spots to make it a little easier for everybody. They just went with their initial setup and said, here you go, Kerry Hagan. And Kerry Hagan has typically done a great job at setting up golf courses. Like, to give him criticism is a one-off. This might be an outlier for him. But when you dealt with the wind, because the wind came in earlier than they expected even, so you got the brunt of it. It was also 55 degrees and windy now, so now you're layering up, and it's like you're playing golf in Michigan in the wintertime. What was the hardest part about all of that?
It's just, I think the hard thing is that it was just so hard to, birdies were almost like not even like in my mind, it was like you had to try to figure out a way to make a really difficult par, and there was a pin, and what you said, Steve, exactly right into the fact of like number 11, as I explained earlier, that front right pin, there's a huge false front. If you miss the green, it's coming down 50, 60 yards maybe. And the pin was in the very front with a green that slopes back to front severely. And it was downwind 20 miles per hour. And, it's a great question. Was the wind a factor there, or like, was that thought about? I'm not sure. But I honestly don't know what you're supposed to do there. I really don't. If you played, there was left of the flag was a bowl. And if you go in the bowl, it's probably going to come off the green. It's one of those things where, and if you hit it past the flag, then you risk hitting a putt and possibly putting it off the green. I think the only thing in that sense, if you went past the hole, is that you were putting back into the wind. But I think about it in number 6, the second day, the green slopes hard left to right. Like very high up on the left and pretty low on the right side. And the pin was like maybe 3 paces off the left, and right in front of it is a giant mound that if you're standing on the front of the green, the mound probably comes up. I'm 6'3", it probably comes up to my chest. And the pin was right over that. And the fairway slopes left to right. So it's going to favor a ball kind of cutting into that green. And then you have the green sloping left to right. And then you have a giant slope right in front of the pin. And I hit a pretty good drive, and I literally tried to hook a gap wedge into the green, and I hit it just right of the flag. I couldn't see it, just the way of the contour of the green. And we got up there, and the closest ball, we all had like wedges in. The closest ball was I think mine, and I probably had 70 feet. And and that's just like the stuff where, with the yardage I had hitting a gap wedge, you're looking to try to make birdie. And that's a perfect example of like trying to make a really hard 4, because all of a sudden, like, that slope was right in front of the pin. And oh, by the way, the wind was blowing left to right as well. So it's like everything was moving so far off the flag. The contour of the green was there. You had this giant slope, and if you hit it past, like, you can't hold, you're not going to hold it. So it's like, again, like I think where I hit it at 70 feet was probably the closest you could get to it. And all of us hit it right at the flag when we hit it. I was maybe a little right of it. If you went left, you were absolutely dead. Like, you'd probably make double if you went left of it, because there's no way you'd be able to keep it within 50 feet. And then all of a sudden you have a 70-footer straight up a hill over a slope. And it's like, it was a really hard 2-putt, So that's just honestly, that example is a perfect way to kind of describe what that day was like.
I know I was in my office, and I had it on my iPad on Thursday morning, trying to follow the coverage, and they were doing on the ESPN Plus coverage, they were going hole by hole around the golf course, and they got to 11. And for some reason I turned over and looked, and you've talked about 11, that flag on 11 twice now. And all I could remember thinking was, with 20-mile-an-hour winds, who puts a flag there? And that was what I thought. And I'm sitting in my office in downtown Orlando going, who does that? Like, what kind of setup is that? Like, no one's going to make a birdie there on a hole like that. Like, you make 3 there, you've stolen 3 shots. Like, literally. Like,
well, that was my favorite. The comment was, it was U.S. Open setup, Open Championship weather.
Yeah,
like, that's what they said.
Yeah,
like, that's a terrible combination.
I know it was. When I teed off Thursday, it was 52, and Thursday the pins were just very hard. It was very hard, but it wasn't at like that ridiculous factor. And it was cold and it was kind of breezy, but I never walked off saying, wow, that was a little dicey. Friday, I walked off, and I mean, seriously, I mean, I was trying to enjoy myself as much as I could. I mean, it's a dream come true moment and something I dreamt of, since I was a kid to be out there. But the front nine, honestly, like it kind of took a little bit of fun out of it just because it was like, well, I'm hitting some shots here that I feel like are pretty good, and you get absolutely nothing out of it. And I mean, I probably shot my highest 9-hole score on Friday that I've shot in 20 something years. And you make the turn and it's like, okay, well, what else do I have out in front of me? I mean, I kept trying to remind myself, and it did occur to me on the course. I'm like, you know what? Like, as hard as this is, there's 30,000 other PGA professionals that would kill to be in this position, and I worked really hard to get there. And honestly, on the back nine, I just tried to enjoy it a little bit more, even though I thought some of the pins were even crazier on the back too. But it did take a little fun. I mean, truthfully, when I got done with Quail Hollow, I had a pit in my stomach 2 years or a year ago, and I was like almost choked up when I got done. This year, when I got done, I was relieved because it was like, I mean, I was like, this is insane. And especially for a guy. I mean, I work full time. I'm coming out of the winter. This is my second event in 8 months, and then you get thrown into, the environment itself is hard, but then you get thrown into like how tough that setup is, and it's like, I mean, it's I just was like scratching my head thinking like I've never played anything ever like this before.
So let me ask you, you played with Ryan Fox and is it Kazuki Higa? Is that his name?
Yep.
Ryan is obviously known for pounding it. I mean, the dude moves it like he hits it a mile. But playing with those guys, and I know last year we talked about this last year about your practice rounds and who did you play practice rounds with, and you really didn't. And I know we talked a couple weeks ago about possibly setting up something with Scotty. What were your practice rounds like leading up? Did you play with anybody? And then what was it like playing with Ryan and Kazuki?
So Saturday I got there and I was pretty much the only person on the golf course. There was nobody there, which it was actually really cool. The course has been closed since October, and I literally felt like I was walking on carpet. The fairways were absolutely perfect. The rough was actually longer. On the first hole, I hit my drive a couple yards right of the fairway. It took me 6 minutes, I'd say, to find the ball. I was lasering back to the tee just to figure out a general area of where the ball may be because I literally could not find it. And I had 120 yards in, and I couldn't even get it to the green. I probably hit it 50, 60 yards. And when I saw that, I was like, whoa, this is next level. The quail was long, but it wasn't this long. And so they actually, I think they cut it on Monday morning, which I was like, whoa, and it was still long. But it wasn't to the, maybe the length that it was on Saturday, Sunday. So Saturday, I was the only one out there. Sunday, there was a couple people out there. I teed off at about 10 a.m. on Sunday. I think Shane Lowry was out there. He played 9 holes. I didn't see a whole lot of guys, to be honest with you, when I was playing. And then Monday I actually took off. I just practiced most of the day and, worked a lot around the greens, getting used to the rough, hit a lot of range balls, did some equipment stuff, putted for a while, did everything. Except for go on the course. And then Tuesday, I played with a friend of mine, Ryan Vermeer, who won the PGA Professional Championship in 2018. We were on the tee. The two of us were going to go, and Michael Block joined us, which nice. brought a lot of entertainment. He actually emailed me. I saw an email when I got done teaching. He emailed me. We were going back and forth on this email, and he's actually not going to be playing in our PGA Cup in Ireland. And he notified our team this morning through an email, and then I emailed him separately, just kind of saying like, I'm going to, he was having the crowd like boo and clap for us. Like every time we hit a shot, like if we missed the putt, he wanted the crowd to boo. And then if we made it, he wanted to clap. So it was very entertaining. And then on Wednesday, I played again with Ryan Vermeer. I played 9 holes with Ryan Vermeer and Ben Kern, who had made the cut as one of the PGA professionals. We had a good time. I mean, it was awesome. I mean, it was really neat though, just because like Tuesday and Wednesday, there were so many people out there, and just to kind of get a feel for the environment was awesome. And it was fun being out there. I mean, I didn't want to play. I wanted to keep playing, but I just for energy purposes, it was like, I got to kind of, Saturday, Sunday was great because I got to know the course, and a lot of my work and learning the course and everything was kind of done at that point. But it was kind of just a matter of going out on Tuesday, Wednesday, just getting a feel for all the people that were out there. And Tuesday, I mean, that was probably the most nervous practice round I've ever had, was just because of all the people that were there. But then Wednesday, I went out there and I felt really comfortable, and kind of same with the tournament. So, I think there was another question in there, Steve, that you had asked me, and I can't remember, what it was.
What did you get to play with Scotty? Did that ever come to fruition? But
yeah, no, I didn't get to play with him. His agent, I corresponded with him before the tournament, and he said, just ask him, or whatever. And when I left Sunday, I actually went to go pick up my wife and kids at the airport. It was maybe 6:30 or so, and he was like the only ones I think we had some rain come in Sunday later. And so nobody was on the course, and yeah, actually everybody had to leave the course. We were in a weather delay. So everyone left. And then when I was leaving at 6:30, he was just about to tee off. And honestly, had I not, if I didn't have to go to the airport and, they weren't coming until the next day or something, I probably would have asked him, because he went out by himself, and the PGA posted pictures of him like an hour later on social media being out there. But I didn't really cross paths. I mean, Monday I knew I wasn't going to play, and on Tuesday, Wednesday, I just didn't really see him or cross paths with him. So, but I mean, that's just one of those things where you kind of just go to the tee, and you don't actually make a tee time. You just go to the tee, and whoever's there is there. And that's when Ryan and I were there, and Michael just came up to join us or whatever. But it was fine. I enjoyed playing with those guys, but at the same time, it was more so just going out there just to kind of hit some shots and get a feel for, the environment and conditions and everything.
So getting a feel for this course, I mean, when I was watching it, the things that I noticed, it felt like everyone, even on short shots, it felt like they were hitting a long shot into a green. So it's not like it's playing really quick. But the main thing that most people noticed was 8, 10, and 17 were all right next to each other. And you're already shaking your head at this. On
with
TV, we saw it,
with split tees, that was cute.
in person, what was that traffic jam? What was like playing in that area? What was that actually like to actually be there in that crazy madness?
You walk off 7 green and you go to 8T, and I mean, they rope off, like, there's a little crosswalk there that like leads you down to 8 green or whatever. And there were so many people, even in the practice rounds. I mean, there were so many people along those ropes. Then you get up on the tee, and there's a ton of people right there. And then you have a ton of people in the grandstands. And same with, when you get to 10 and like you said, 17. I mean, there were 17 and 18 in that corner. I don't know if I've ever teed off in front of more people in my life. I mean, there were so many people. I mean, there's no way to keep that many people quiet. There's like, you can hear noises in the corporate tents, and which is fine. And, there's literally a buzz to it, but, I think the hardest thing is like in those shots, like, I mean, 8 is a 240 something yard par 3. And then you have, 10, which is like, I mean, for me, it was like a driver 5 or 4 iron into it. And then you get to 17, which is a 242 yard par 3. So you're playing in front of all these people, and it's like some of the hardest shots you'll have, and I mean, and going back to what you said, Steve, earlier, is when you were talking about Ryan Fox and how far he hits it. On 17, the first day, it was into the wind. And it was 240 something, and we were trying to hit a 265 shot with the wind. So I was just trying to get like front edge and let the ball kind of go a little bit, and I hit driving iron, and I hit it like just short of pin high, just a little, like maybe a yard or 2 right of the green. And Ryan, I looked at what he saw, I couldn't believe it. He had a 4 iron. And I mean, seriously, it had to have been.
I'm thinking driver at this point for me.
Yeah, like I'm going on T-stick. Yeah. We're taking big up here.
Well, and in Friday's round on number let's see, 3, there's some bunkers that are like a 310 carry, and it was a little downwind, and probably at that point it was 15 miles per hour. So I was trying to launch it really high just to make sure I covered these bunkers, and I hit one, and I hit it pretty hard. I hit it like according to the shot tracker, I hit it like 343. Ryan hit 3-wood and was probably 10 to 12 yards out in front of me. So he hit it over 350. And I mean, he hit it hard. I asked him what his ball speed was, and he's like, oh, it's like mid 180s. But I mean, there was times where it sounded like it was coming off at 190 or something. I mean, it was just next level. But going back to what you said, Greg, I mean, yeah, those corner holes and that atmosphere, I mean, it was crazy how many people were there. And I mean, what made it significantly more was that, like, when we were on 8, we teed off 5 minutes after, or 5 minutes before Rory, Spieth, and Rahm. So when we got to 8, those guys were normally on 17, and those are bunched up and bottlenecked all those areas. So all those people were down there. And then when 9 tee boxes right by 17 tee box. So when they were teeing off 9, we were kind of on 17. And I mean, we caught it at these times where these guys were going through. And I mean, it was like, there were literally herds and herds and herds of people. I mean, there was so many. And like, that's where literally I had no idea where any of, my family members were or anything. And I mean, there was like a 2 or 3 hole stretch where literally I had no clue where they were. They could have told me they were behind me. I probably would have believed it. They could have told me the left or right. I mean, I had no idea where they were. And it was crazy.
So let me ask you about 8, because we've had conversations on this show, and I'm a firm believer that we don't need 245-yard par 3s in golf. Brooks Koepka has said things about it. 8 looked like the hardest hole I've ever seen anyone play. First question, it's a 2-part question. Did you hit a shot out of the right rough on 8? Because I'm going to be honest with you, that looked like death. And I'm not certain that death would have been an easier thing to deal with than the right rough on 8. And then secondly, do we really need 240-something yard par 3s in golf?
Yeah, I mean, I'm not a huge fan of it, to be honest with you. I mean, the depth of the green was kind of where I have the issue, is like you're hitting it from 240, and it was playing like 6 yards down, but you're coming in with a long iron, and it was, kind of think of it shaped as like a sideways hourglass kind of thing. You're hitting it into a green that doesn't have a ton of depth to it. I did not hit it in the right rough, and that would have been absolutely dead for any of the day. I mean, like, I saw a couple guys actually over there at certain points when I was on the course, but the first day I hit 3-iron, and oddly enough, I plugged it like basically at the lip of the bunker on the first day. And I still don't know how a 3-iron plugs, but that's a story for another day.
That's magic right there.
And then the next day, on Friday, they moved the tee up, which I was like, oh, this is kind of nice. And they made it like, I think it was like 176 or 77. And we were hitting right into the sun because it was kind of getting like, it was like almost 8 o'clock at that point. And I remember hitting it, and my caddy was like, it's dead at it. And I kind of lost it, and I saw it coming down, and we saw it, and we didn't see it land in the bunker. And I'm like, that's got to be stone dead, because it was dead at it. And we get up there, and this was kind of what I was describing earlier. I was maybe 10 to 12 feet from the flag, but I was maybe 6 inches into the rough. And right in front of me was the fringe. Now, like, normally I would probably just belly a wedge and just let it kind of trickle down, but the rough is too thick. You can't do that. So I actually had to hit like a steep shot, and I literally had to hit it probably a couple inches. And I was so worried about it trickling off to the side because of it. This was the pin that I was describing earlier, where if you hit it a foot right or a foot left, it was going to catch a slope and you were going to be way down. And honestly, I thought it was one of the hardest chips I've honestly have had in a long time. Especially considering how close it was. I was worried about double hitting it because I had to make such a small swing, but then get steep and kind of hold my speed through the rough because I just would have snagged it. But that pin was honestly terrible. And even at 170 something yards, it was, kind of a ridiculous hole. And both guys, Ryan and Kazuki, they were, maybe 2 or 3 strokes off the lead, and they made bogey, and and then the other one made double. Ryan made bogey, and the other guy made double. And I somehow managed to make a par, but it was like one of those things where it was like almost luck, you know. It was just kind of like Ryan hit a good shot in there and his ball went 80 feet or, you know, down a slope into the rough. And it was just like, come on, you know, I mean, he hit it right at the flag. And, you know, when it was playing 240 something or whatever the first day, it was, I mean, I think it was just maybe a little much in my opinion,
Yeah.
especially where the pin was too. I mean, it wasn't like an accessible pin right in the middle of the green. It was cut over the bunker and you're coming in with a 3-iron and it's like, I just don't get how you stop it on the firm greens. And when you're hitting a 3-iron and when it doesn't have a ton of depth to it, you know? So
I would have liked to have seen a bunch of yardage books because I bet they all had a big red X on the right hand side of that green.
Oh yeah. I mean,
like, X,
that like
X, X.
that like gives me the chills even thinking about that, like going over that. I mean, that it would just be, yeah, absolutely terrible. But I mean, the thing is like, that's a perfect example. You could hit a really good iron shot, hit it in the front half of the green and walk out of there easily with double, or I'm sorry, with bogey. Like you could go over the green and if it catches the rough, you could be in trouble. The pitch shot, it was like over the green, like it kind of went like into this low spot. So then you'd have kind of a odd chip and you know, it's like you can hit a really good shot and walk away dropping a shot, maybe two, just depending on what happens. But I mean, that's where it just kind of gets a little gimmicky in my opinion.
So speaking of that, speaking of how the course played on Thursday and Friday out there, when you were watching on Sunday, did you think a 65 and a 63 were even obtainable with the way this course was playing earlier in the week?
You know, I don't know if they caught any flack after round 2 or not. But they moved tees up and there was all of a sudden drivable par 4s, 2 of them, I believe.
Yeah.
The wind on 6 was shifted, so that was playing downwind. Rory drove it one day where what's odd is like the rounds 1 and 2, it was like kind of chillier and it wasn't warm by any means, and it was kind of left to right or into left to right. And there's a setup, I think there's maybe like 6 bunkers, and I mean, it's like a 320 carry on those bunkers. And so when it's cold and into the wind, you can't even touch those things, you know, or get over there. And when the wind shifted and it got warmer, I mean, it was in the 80s on Saturday. It was much, much warmer. So I think that played a factor. Moving the tees up played a factor. I mean, they played 17 shorter, I think rounds 3 and 4. And I don't know where they played 8. Maybe moved that up as well. But they all of a sudden kind of changed their tune a little bit where they wanted to make it really tough rounds 1 and 2, and then they kind of eased off the pedal a little bit for rounds 3 and 4. But the weather also was favorable because it was warmer, ball was going further, and you know, again, like on Thursday when I teed off, it was 52, and it was chilly for pretty much most of my round. And you know, it just played so differently and over the weekend. You know, it's hard not being out there like on the course trying to figure out like where a lot of the pins are and everything to kind of see if like you know, I can tell you after Friday, I'm like, if you shoot 65 or something on that on a Friday, like I mean, that is like, I mean, that's I mean, I told somebody today, I mean, I shoot 80 on Friday. And if I would have played like courses around here, it wouldn't have surprised me if I shot a few under par. I mean, I wasn't like hitting it sideways and in trouble every hole. I mean, I was hitting good shots. I just got nothing out of it. And so I think that, you know, the conditions and the tees and stuff like that, I think they kind of changed their tune and wanted some lower scores.
So I'm going to ask you this question. Greg plays off of a 9 or a 10.
I know where we're going with this.
What would a...
I'm an 8. That's what my handicap is, if you just want to really know.
What would a legitimate 10 handicap have shot Thursday or Friday on that golf course?
I saw
or they have quit and thrown their clubs in the lake.
There's a chance.
Yeah,
we got to put the legit thing out there.
You could have thrown it in the rough and lost them in the rough.
Could have dropped it in the rough and lost it.
Yeah, exactly. You know, I saw an interview like Johnson Wagner. I mean, you know, he's 1 on tour. He's like plus handicap, whatever. He didn't think he'd break 80 on Friday. I think Colt Knost, who, obviously is really good.
Yep.
I think he was quoted as saying he'd shoot like somewhere 76 or something like that, or, whatever on Friday's round. I mean, gosh, a 10 handicap on Friday. I mean, easily over 100. There's no doubt.
Wow.
I mean, it was
wow.
seriously. I mean, it was every hole. There was not one shot where you're like, oh, okay, like this will be somewhat easy. I mean, it was so difficult in every facet. I mean, if you drove it in the fairway, that's great, obviously. But then the pins, it were so like you couldn't, they weren't accessible. And then all of a sudden, it's like the putts were so hard, the greens were so challenging. So it's like, I mean, you could walk away and just easily drop shots at any point. I mean, you couldn't get it close. There's no way.
I felt watching it, everyone out there, because the luxury at home, I get to see everyone playing at the same time. It felt like that way for everybody out there. Even the people that were shooting well, it felt like they were struggling, like they were running uphill the entire way. Whereas on Sunday, I didn't feel that way. And I think you made a good point. They changed the course around, and then people could go for par fours in one. And they made some adjustments to it that really changed the way it played from the weekday to the weekend. And that's what it looked like. It just looked like it was punching you in the face the entire time, and you just had to struggle to, like you said, get even par out there.
Yeah. And I think, I can't remember, maybe somebody on Saturday like shot low 80s, and it's like, here you are, you have the best players in the world playing the best golf, making the cut, and then you have guys shooting in the low. It's like, it's not like they just all of a sudden lost their games and whatever. I mean, they played.
Brian Campbell shot 82.
On exactly.
Yeah.
And it's like,
he's a two-time winner.
Yeah.
I mean, and Brian's won twice on the PGA Tour.
Yeah. And I think one of the things too that like surprised me is just like, if this would have been my first major, I would have been like, whoa, this is unbelievable. But like Quail Hollow, like it was tough, but it was very fair. I never thought in any sense these pins are insane or ridiculous or anything. It was just a challenging course from tee to green. And, I understand that it's a major, but like, this is where it got a little gimmicky, I thought. And, it was just, again, if you have guys shooting low 80s that have made the cut, honestly, like I didn't see his round or, whatever, but it's like having been there on Friday and doing the same thing. It's like, I just remember like hitting shots and executing it. And then you're just like, well, this could go anywhere. And it was never a moment on the course where you could just kind of say like, okay, let's try to attack this and make some birdies. I mean, it was like literally, how can I try to make pars? And I mean, my back nine on Friday, I mean, I made 8 pars and a double, and my double came on a hole where I hit the drive 343, and I had 90 yards in, and I hit my ball right near the pin, but it was kind of firm and it was downwind and it went over, and I had a bad lie, and I had a 4-foot putt. And my caddy and I read it going left and it went right. And so then I hit my next putt thinking it was going to go left. And that went right and I missed it. And I walk away and I'm like, this was probably the easiest shot I had all tournament, where I had 90 yards and I literally just walked away making double, and so, I mean, that was perfect example right there.
Let me ask you this: is you've now played in 2 PGA championships. You're exempt into Streamsong next year for the Club Pro Championship. We hope to see you next year at Frisco as well. 3 years in a row. What do you take from what you did on Thursday and Friday in those conditions to make you better for next year?
It was so challenging. But I think the thing is like it's going to make any golf course that I play now seem, like that's the toughest course I've ever played. I mean, I don't know how it gets tougher than that, honestly. And, going forward, it's, I'm like, I feel like I can like handle anything. I flew back Sunday. I played in a pro-am yesterday. I was pretty exhausted. I was kind of wondering why I decided to play in the Pro-Am especially after Bandon too. I mean, I was tired after that, and I had a really long week in between, and then you're getting ready for a major. But I mean, I went out there and it was blowing 25 yesterday, and I mean, the course seems so easy to me, and I never really think that, to be honest with you, and it was just because of what I went from, and then what I was going to. And I mean, the conditions yesterday were really tough. I mean, they play a Champions Tour event at this course. The greens were firm. They were really fast. It's a kind of a tight course in a lot of areas. And I was like, this is nothing compared to what I just played. I mean, it was like strange, like having opportunities to hit par fives and two. I mean, that's another thing. As Aronimink, you only had, it was shorter compared to Quail, but it also had only two par fives, so it was like, 7,400 yards, two par fives, whatever. But like, I mean, I was like, oh my gosh, like if you hit it in the rough, you can actually like hit whatever club you want, like, whereas last week I was hitting, I mean, I literally had two shots last week where I thought I could get 7-iron out of the rough, and I couldn't. And I literally hit them maybe 15 feet, honestly. And I thought it was sitting up and I couldn't get a club on it. And then I'm like, well, I just got to go to a wedge.
Let me ask, what's your swing speed with your driver? Just to put in relative terms on how hard that was.
I mean, I'm like 115, 116, I'd say.
Okay. So 115, 116, you couldn't advance 7-iron out of the rough.
No. Yeah. Literally,
That's
I hit
crazy.
I hit it twice. One on 9 the first day, one on 18 the second day. And I thought the lies were decent, and yeah, hit 7-iron. Literally, if they went 15 feet, I'd be surprised. I probably went a little shorter than that. I mean, it literally didn't go off the ground, and it just snagged my club, and I was done.
Have you played? You're in Detroit, obviously. Have you played Oakland Hills?
I have, yeah.
And a golf course that everyone thinks is hard as can be. I haven't played either Aronimink or Oakland Hills. I know the hardest golf course I've ever played is a golf course called Old Corkscrew down in South Florida, and that golf course would kick your teeth in. Mm-hmm. How much harder than Oakland Hills was Aronimink?
The conditions with the rough made it. I mean, Oakland Hills, I think, is probably one of the tougher courses I've played when you play all the way back. I played with a member a couple years ago, right when it opened, and we were playing made-up tees and probably played it almost 7,700 yards. But the green speeds at tournament pace was quicker to Aronimink. The rough was way longer. It did, honestly, when I did go out there, it did kind of have an Oakland Hills kind of feel to it, but the rough at Aronimink was way longer. And, it was literally, it was like almost hitting it into a hazard when you hit it in the rough. That's how penalizing it was. But the greens were also super fast. And if you positioned yourself wrong, you were in really big trouble with how challenging and how much contours on it. I mean, the greens just weren't like a gradual like slope from back to front. I mean, it was like sloping every direction. There's mounds everywhere. That's why it made these pins so hard, is just because it wasn't flat near the pins. I mean, like that hole on 6 I was explaining to you guys earlier about is like there was a huge slope that was like up to my chest, like, and right over that was the pin, and the green slopes hard left to right on a fairway that slopes left to right. So the ball's going to fade. And it's like, I tried to hit literally, I shut my face and tried to swing more shallow to put like hook spin on the ball. And the best I could do was 60, 70 feet, So, I would, on Friday, I probably would have loved to have gone to play Oakland Hills, just because it probably would have seemed so much. It probably would have seemed so much easier to me. And I think Oakland Hills is a very challenging, tough course, but Aronimink was way harder, no doubt.
So Ryan, let me ask you this: you are a teaching professional, and you have just played the best players in the world on what we will now say is arguably one of the toughest conditions a course has ever been in. What's the biggest takeaway that you take away from this experience that you would tell to your players and that will help you in the future as well?
Well, I think that, I put a post out on Friday, and, one thing that, especially with my junior students and everything, is that I said something to the effect of, last week was another dream come true for me. I never thought that I'd ever play in a major, and then I did, and then a year later I played in another one, and I mean it is amazing to me. I never thought that would maybe happen. I had big dreams as a kid. I had a huge imagination where, when I was younger, I thought I'd get there and they announced me in the tee and all this stuff. And then, as I got older, I thought that would never happen. And, um, and it did. And so, what I would tell my students, number one, is to never give up on your dreams and, keep working hard, keep, dedicating yourself and, make whatever sacrifices that you need to make to achieve your goals and do that. Because I'm a living example of, somebody that had big dreams when I was a kid and, never knew and honestly almost gave up on it, like thinking I could never do it. And, like when they announced me on the tee on Thursday, from Michigan and everything, I mean, it was like a surreal pinch me moment similar to what I had last year when I was at Quail Hollow. And I mean, you have all those people out there and, I talk about how tough the conditions and how tough the course was and everything. But to be honest with you, I wouldn't trade that for anything, for how amazing it was to be out there and how appreciative I was to be out there and how much work it took just to be there, And it's one of those things where I'd tell my students, like, as hard as this game of golf is, don't ever give up on yourself. Keep working hard. You never know what will come out of it. And, I guess I'm just living proof of that because I thought that maybe it would never happen. And here I am saying I got to, play in 2 major championships, which as a kid, if you would have told me that, I mean, I would have been absolutely stunned or shocked. And, it's something that I'm almost in kind of disbelief, to be honest with you. And so, but at the same time too, it's, I think that if I have any competitive which I do, but if there's any competitive students or anything like that, it's like, I can really use my experience of playing competitive golf and helping them prepare for tournaments and prepare for, maybe the unexpected or what may lie ahead and things like that. And kind of just help give them a pathway to try to play their best and everything. And, it's like I told my boys, I said, I have 3 boys and I told them, I said, like, this is what happens when you just work hard, you make a lot of sacrifices, you dedicate yourself. And I said, I never thought maybe it was possible, but at the same time, I just stuck to the things that allowed me to get better and somehow, some way it all kind of happened. And, I just would never tell anybody they can't achieve something. It's one of those things where, you can do anything if you put your mind to it and work really hard.
I want to ask you this as we wrap up. Next year, Club Pro Championship is in my backyard at Streamsong. Have you been to Streamsong yet?
I have. Yeah, I love it.
Yeah, it's unbelievable. We're going to be at Streamsong next year. We've already had some conversations with the PGA. We have media credentials for Streamsong next year. So definitely want to sit down with you. I know you'll be down here in January, typically, like you usually come down in January, right around PGA show time.
Yeah.
Let's try and link up then. Maybe we can play some golf and sit and have some conversations about Streamsong. And I'd love to finally do one of these interviews face to face with you too, where we're not online doing this.
That'd be fun. And similar to Bandon is like this year in December, I went out there just to kind of scope it out, get a feel for it and everything. And truthfully, I'd love to do that. At some point, maybe before New Year's or something like that. I mean, gosh, it's hard to even talk about that when it's like, here we are and we're just getting good weather. But I mean,
we'd love to join you and take
again, so. You just send me a note. I will make it happen, and we can. I'll come join you at Streamsong. I still think I've played a lot of great golf courses in the state of Florida. I think the Reddit Streamsong might be my favorite golf course I've ever played in the state.
Yeah,
I think it's unbelievable.
I love it.
I'm gonna say that all the courses there are fantastic.
Yeah, once I get kind of once I'm like told what course. I mean, I'm assuming we won't play black, but I don't know. But we'll play 2 of them and we'll play one of the courses once.
I'm going to assume it's red and blue would be my guess.
Yes.
I think red and blue are, I think red at Streamsong, like, go ahead and stand on the first tee box on that back tee into the fan and say good luck. And it's going to kick your teeth in and then kind of gives you a reprieve, and then it kicks your teeth in again, and it's unbelievable.
Yeah.
And the best barbecue in a halfway house.
The best brisket at a halfway house ever. Yes, I agree with that.
If I have a quick second, I'm going to tell you guys a quick story that when I was there a few years ago, I was with a, group of kind of father sons, and I can't remember if it was red or blue, but 10 is like a shorter par 4. I don't know if you guys can remember that. Red. Okay.
Red. Yeah.
And I think it was
uphill, shorter par 4. Yes.
Yeah. So I hit a putt like from 2 feet and, get my ball out of the hole or whatever. And one of the guys in my group was holding the pin, and we hear a noise. And we look out in the fairway, and there's a ball coming at us from one of the groups that we were with that was behind us. And so we're like watching this kind of like, I can see in my mind is almost slow-mo, and we see this ball coming up to us. It rolls up, and there was the guy that was holding the pin, and he was kind of like looking at me like, do I put this in or, whatever. And like, it happened so fast that we couldn't, really like, I couldn't say like, put it in quick or whatever. So he's going up to the hole, and the ball rolls right over the middle of the hole and goes up in the air and sits on the back edge for a hole in one and doesn't go in. And I'm thinking to myself, I'm sitting there and I'm thinking, if that pin would have been in, I think that would have been a hole in one. It wasn't going fast enough where it like went up or like rolled right over the hole and then kept going. It like popped up and then sat in the back edge. And the guy came up, and we're still on the green, and he goes, "Did you guys see my ball?" And we go, "Yeah, we saw it." And we saw it literally go over the part over the middle of the hole, popped up and sat in the back. And like, seriously, if the pin would have been in, I think it would have gone in. It was like, it was crazy. And he had never had a hole in one before. And
par 4 with a hell of a hole in one.
Yeah, no kidding. Yeah. Somebody says like, how many hole in ones do you have? You have one, and say, oh, what par 3? And you're like, actually, no, it was a par 4. Like I'd probably throw somebody off. But yeah, I would love to do it. If you guys, we'll touch base at some point. But sometime in that time frame, I'd love to get down there and try to play.
Absolutely.
Let me know. Keep me posted. So Ryan, thank you for joining us tonight. I really appreciate it. I know we've. This is the second year in a row we've done this, and Let's
keep this tradition going every year.
Yeah, we're going to keep the tradition going. So we'll just plan on year 3 doing the same thing. So we appreciate it. Thank you, sir. We're going to recap the rest of this, including being on time for your tea time, and we will chat with you soon, brother. I appreciate it.
All right, guys. Thanks for having me on. Honestly, anytime you need anything or need me to fill in or whatever, just let me know. I love chatting with you guys.
Oh, we've just replaced Dave.
Yeah, okay,
that's fine too. Yeah, we're good with that.
Let's draft an email right after this, and we'll let him know he's on here. So
he's not off the next few weeks. So
anytime, Dave.
All right. Well, sounds good. But yeah, thanks for having me on, guys. I appreciate it, and we'll
thanks, Ryan.
Hopefully, like you said, we'll do it in person at some point.
Sounds great.
Ryan.
All right, thanks guys.
So much fun.
This is a tradition unlike any other. More than the Masters, having Ryan on every year for this. I want to keep this going. So Ryan, keep it going. Keep those dreams going, and we will be there at Stream Song for you and next year in Frisco, hopefully. So this was a fun PGA. So we heard all of this. Everything that we saw this week, Ryan just solidified with everything he said right there. The course played ridiculously tough on the weekends, though conditions were astronomically crazy.
Yes.
And it was like a Rocky versus Apollo Creed bout is really what this was. And it lived up to the hype in Philly, but it was an exciting championship to watch overall, I will say. Seeing this leaderboard be so crowded at the top, I think I texted you all one time and I said, I think we're going to have a 10-person playoff here until one person decided to take his 2 gloves and run away with the field.
Correct.
Which was also fun to watch.
Yeah.
Even though it was this tough, I do think that Friday was just ridiculously tough. But overall, for the 4 days as a total, this was a fun major to watch. I mean, from talking to Ryan, it seems like it was a fun major to be at, but one of the toughest things he's ever done. So what was your takeaway from this week, Steve?
I I watched a lot on Thursday and Friday. Saturday, my oldest turned 12 today, so we did some birthday stuff this weekend on Saturday and Sunday with the family, and we ended up seeing. We went to Epcot, by the way, on Sunday night. Saw the new Soarin' ride. All right, Saturday night saw the new Soarin' ride, which was really cool.
Oh, nice! Happy birthday to Jackson.
Sunday afternoon. Thank you. Sunday, we went to Epic Universe in the morning. I got home to watch basically the last 12 holes. And as I sat and watched this unfold, I think I actually turned the TV on when Aaron made eagle on 9, was about when I turned the TV on. And his eagle putt on 9 wasn't real long. Like, he had a great shot at 9. And I thought, oh boy, is Aaron Rye going to win this thing? That was the first thought that I had. And I thought about the play of when you look at what Justin Thomas did to climb the leaderboard, when you look at what Kurt Kitayama did on Sunday too, to shoot 63 on Sunday, and could have gone out and zombied around and shot 70 and not cared about it, shot 63
using the Bridgestone mindset.
Correct.
So make sure, if you want to get your game in order, make sure you are getting the Bridgestone B Tour series with the mindset technology. And if you really want to go after it, and Velo Surge, you can get them in jet black right now.
I looked at Matty Schmidt, Cobra staffer. Played great this week, kind of fell off at the end. I think everybody fell off at the end based on the fact that Aaron Rye ran away with it at the end. And you know what? I'm going to look at this and I'm going to say this. Aaron in his iron covers, Aaron in his 2 gloves. You golfed a ball.
He did. And that was
on Sunday.
You separated yourself. The cream rose to the top, and you just kept yourself consistent. I felt everyone kept going up and down and just playing the way it kind of felt like
he was the one that got better every day.
Yeah, he actually not even every day. As soon as he made that eagle, like you said, going into the back 9, so he made it on 9, made the turn, he turned his game up to another level. Where I feel everybody else was playing catch up at that point.
Correct.
Until that point, it felt like it was anyone's game. It felt like I said, it was going to be a 10-man playoff. But as soon as he made that eagle putt, his game took off to another level. And he didn't play defensively. He just played his game. And it made him a champion.
You know what I did see this weekend? I saw Matty Schmidt drive it great. And you know what helped him drive it great?
Future fit technology.
Experience highly addictive accuracy with Cobra's line of Optim drivers, designed with optimized MOI and POI. Optim drivers deliver incredible stability, unmatched accuracy off the tee. Upgrade your game by purchasing the Optim driver today. Learn more at cobragolf.com.
I got to say, this course played long. When you need those yardages and you need to get that distance that you are,
they let them use rangefinders this week.
They do. Make sure you're checking out Nikon Golf and their lineup of rangefinders and that OLED technology, that stabilization that they have. It is unmatched. It'll give you the best yardage, the best experience out there, and help you improve your game. Check out the official rangefinder of the LPGA Tour and the Golfing Dads, NikonGolf.com.
Hey, Greg, when was the last time you were late for your tee time?
I've come in hot before, but I've never been late for my tee time. Come in hot.
Yep.
But now let me ask you this question. What is late?
Here's the thing.
That was the whole debate that went on here.
Here's my argument. Are we talking about the same incident about Dustin Johnson grounding his club in a bunker outside the ropes that people were standing in? Same thing?
Can I just point out that someone got arrested and still made his tee time on time?
All right, I'm going to move on now. Again,
you have no excuse after that. Someone got arrested and still made it to his tee time on time. Like,
I'm not saying you're lying. I'm saying you're right. And I'm going to leave it at that.
Hey, I gotta say, he handled it. He handled it beautifully. I think the way he talked about it, the way that I don't get that out of it. But I think the way that he handled it with the media, some people were like, "Oh, he's like wishy-washy here." No, he was exactly what he said. He goes, "I don't agree with it, but it is the rule, and I didn't make it." I thought he handled it very well.
He's teeing off third in that group. He was on time. But I'm not arguing. Again, the rules are the rules. They put rules in place. So
I need to gotta have a cutoff somewhere.
Jon Rahm is playing the Scottish Open.
I think this goes into this whole live thing that I think is very interesting right now. And there's a lot going on with this.
And we're going to go more into that here in just a second. But
but I think that this brings up an interesting point. And you and I talked about this the other day. What does this mean for the future? What does this mean if Rahm plays like he did at the PGA? You got a T2 at the PGA. What if he gets a win here? That comes with some exemptions and
PGA Tour has said today, they came out today and said there will not be, if Rahm were to win, he would not be eligible to get the exemptions to play on the PGA Tour.
And I called this. It was the same thing that happened.
Much like Dean Burmester when he won the senior PGA major that he won. It is what it is. Now, that leads us into topic number 3. And before we get to topic number 3, if your junior needs kids clubs, look no further than Upswing Golf. From their amazing technology being able to adjust the clubs as they get older, you need to grow like a pro with Upswing Golf.
Best kids clubs out there. If you're looking for kids clubs, check out upswinggolf.com.
Completely. Which way do we want to go with this live conversation right now? Because Live today bails on Korea that they had promised purse money for.
I want to play the video from The Office where Michael Scott goes, "I declare bankruptcy."
Yes.
And then I want to go with this.
And there's a Bloomberg report out there that Liv is planning on, if they can, again, you're struggling with money. What we know from your financials based on what was done in England, in the UK, on their UK statements, which is everything other than North America.
Yep.
In England, you're $1.1 billion in debt. I'm going to assume that based on the contracts in America, you're way more than that in debt at this point. So they're saying if they can't come up with $250 million between now and the end of the year, they will declare bankruptcy, is what basically this Bloomberg report is saying, and from Bloomberg Business. And I will give Bloomberg Business credit for getting this story. Mm-hmm. Great job. Thank you for that. Greg, if you were sitting there and had the wherewithal to invest from a corporate perspective into Live right now, the question that needs to be asked is, would you spend money on Live Golf?
So if I was to spend money on Live Golf, I would want to have some controlling say in my investment. I would want to have a say in that, hey, I think you need to do X, Y, and Z for me to have a return on this investment that I'm putting into you.
Yep.
And that's where I think Live is. So I think if they're reaching out to investors, I think they've done the right thing by putting some people together, getting these bankers together to kind of say, hey, what do we need to do? Where can we go with this? But even with that right now, I almost think the best thing for Live is to fold. And if someone wants to start something up again from scratch, start from the ground up, because I think this was a failed model from the beginning. I think
there's too much money going out. Way too much money going out.
Well, not even that. I just think that you tried to take on the PGA. I think that was your biggest mistake, was trying to take on the PGA. Mm-hmm. When you look back at the UFL or the USL, the United States Football League or whatever it was back in the 80s.
USFL. Yep.
When that tried to be its own thing, it was fine. When they tried to take on the NFL, it folded. I won't go into who caused that to happen, but he might be in charge of our country right now. There's a whole 30 for 30 on this,
details.
So you can watch that. But now, if you look at what The Rock is doing with the USFL and the XFL and merging them together and what they're doing and not taking on the NFL, being a subsidiary league, they are being more successful. To be honest, they're more successful than Live. Let's be honest, because people want
more people are watching.
We want more golf. We want more opportunities to see like what we saw this weekend, but on a different scale maybe. And maybe that team golf is the same thing. So I really think you're not going to fix what Live is. Live already has a stigma about it. And I don't think you're going to get that fan base that you need because you alienated yourself. And I'm blaming Greg Norman for this. He took on the PGA and he took on the PGA's fans. He badmouthed what they liked, saying, I'm going to do it better. Didn't do it better. Just paid a lot of people from using it. It's basically like if someone used their parents' money to make a company and had no idea what they were doing. That's what this feels like. And now their CEO has to come in and fix this entire mess. And I think it's almost beyond repair at this point.
So let me ask you this question. You are running the PGA Tour.
Mm-hmm.
You have this league of players who left for what they thought were greener pastures.
Yep.
And now those pastures aren't real green. They're more manure brown is what they really are.
They are what they are.
What do you and let's be real, you have a few guys saying, "Oh, I'd never go back there. I'd never do this. I'd never do that." And we can name names: Anirban Lahiri,
that's fine.
Taylor Gooch, have all come out and said all these things.
But besides that, you're asking what I would do.
Yep.
If I was the PGA Tour, I'm welcoming everyone back, as long as Live has folded at this point. So Live is done. It is dead. Now they have no place to go. I am letting everyone back. Bygones be bygones. There are a few people that are blackballed, like a Phil Mickelson type, that were on the tour and did things to damage the tour while you were here to get people to go to Live. And you burnt that bridge. So there are a few people, there's a short list of people that I might not let back. But other than that, I'm saying, hey, it's water under the bridge right now. You tried to get greener pastures. You realize it's not always greener on the other side of the fence. But I'm putting some stipulations in line for you to get back. It's not just, oh, I'm back. Welcome in. You're back. It's going to be, you're going to have to earn your way back. I like what Patrick Reed is doing now. I like that he's earning his way back on the DP World Tour, or if someone came back and wanted to do something on the Korn Ferry Tour. I think having to earn your way back and say, hey, I do want to play here again. And when I was a young player and hadn't earned my tour card, I had to earn my tour card. You're not a tour player right now. You're a Live Tour player, not a PGA Tour player. So you should have to earn your tour card back. So I think there's some stipulations that come along with that. I like what Brooks Koepka did. I think Brooks Koepka's is a little different model because it was kind of like, hey, let's make this a quick transition. We offered that to some people. They didn't take it. So now you need to go a little bit longer route, but you are welcome back. And that would be my statement. You are welcome back, but you have to follow the correct paths. Any exemptions you may have had in the past, you don't get until you have earned your way back. So if you have a Masters hat on, Steve, if Jon Rahm has Masters exemptions, that would be for other events, not the Masters. Mm-hmm. That's a different thing. He can play in the Masters. Those don't start up again until you earn your way back. And I don't know if I would extend some of those, like say, hey, you missed 2 years. I'm going to add 2 years onto it. I don't know if that's the case, but you have to earn your way back. And I think that would earn the trust of the players that are on tour right now that stayed. Let's forget about the money. If you went to a different job, Steve, and and you got more money, and then you were like, hey, I got more money, but this isn't that great. I want to come back to this job. They'd welcome you back unless you burnt the bridges on the way out of the door.
There's some interesting scenarios right now. I want to give a shout out to Taylor Zarzour on Sirius XM Radio, also voice of the Tennessee Titans. Taylor said something a couple weeks ago, and I listened to Sirius XM almost exclusively in the car. Was listening to him one morning, and there are some stories about some things that someone you mentioned, Phil Mickelson, did before he left that have not come out yet. That he burned some bridges with a lot of PGA Tour players. And I'm intrigued when this story finally comes out. I'm going to be Michael Jackson and Thriller eating my popcorn and listen to this story. I'm going to be honest with you.
Here's the thing. I don't want to even hear those stories. Let's be honest.
Oh, no, I do
care. Because I don't want this tension to still be there about, did he make other players be like him? Is this going to happen again? I just want this to be like, hey, Phil did what he did. Let's forget about that. He's not coming back. The PGA Tour knows what he did. Some other people know what he did, but it doesn't need to be a public thing. I don't think we need to drag people through the mud.
I want to hear it from, I'll be honest with you, I don't want to hear it from Taylor Zarzour. No, I want to hear it from, if I'm going to hear it, I want to hear it from Jordan Spieth or Justin Thomas or any of the rank and file of the PGA Tour telling the story about Phil and why he's not welcome back. In that being that, and I think at some point,
Full Swing, if you're watching right now, or the Golfing Dads, if they're going to let us film this, let's put out a documentary on this, because that's where this should be.
Well, thank you for going to Full Swing, because Full Swing, which turned into just a Ryder Cup show talking about Keegan Bradley for the year, versus the storylines that it did from season one. Yeah, it was disappointing.
Full Swing was good. The storylines were good, but it just you hit the nail on the head. It was a Ryder Cup story. It should have just been called Full Swing Ryder Cup Edition. That's all it should have been called.
Right. There were a lot of players that said a lot of things on the way out. I think some of those things need to be taken into consideration. I do think the PGA Tour is in a tough position with players like Jon Rahm, Bryson DeChambeau, and Cam Smith because of their exemptions.
Why do you think Jon Rahm? Do you think it's because they're exemptions? But I said that. Yes. I said they're exemptions for those majors. For the majors, but for everything else, they have to earn their way back in.
Bryson's in the hardest spot, I think. And it's why, obviously, Bryson hasn't denied that the reports that have come out that said, oh, well, Bryson and Rahm's people have reached out to the PGA Tour. Bryson's not denying that. Bryson is saying, oh, well, they need me and what I can do for them. And I don't like the penalties.
I don't miss that. Like,
no.
I don't miss you. They don't need you. Get over yourself. What you do on YouTube is great. I love watching your stuff on YouTube. I think that's fantastic. Mm-hmm. But get over your ego, understand what you did, and own up to your mistakes. That's all we're asking.
And he was one of the guys recruiting players.
That's what I'm saying. That's where I think they need to look into that. They need to look into who did what and say, hey, some penalties might be harsher because, hey, you did burn, like Phil burnt every bridge. Bryson, I think, burnt, if there was 5 bridges, he burnt 3 of them. So that's where I think we're going with this. But
all right. We've got TPC Craig Ranch, Byron Nelson this week. Dave picks first, and based on the text message we got, he's taking Scotty.
Scotty. And I picked second because you had the better finish.
Yep.
So with my second pick, give me Siwoo.
I like that pick. I
think Siwoo's won here before, actually.
Yes, he has.
So I like Siwoo here. Take the Texan.
No.
Oh, okay. I was hoping to go 1, 2, 3 here, but
I'm going to take a Florida State Seminole.
Deion Sanders isn't playing this week.
No, but Brooks Koepka is.
Yes. Oh, I like Koepka. So you think this is going to be Koepka's comeback story this week?
I do, and I've stayed away from Brooks this year. I have.
You did.
And give me Brooks.
You are very adamant in staying away from people until they prove themselves to you. So
yes.
This is a big pick by you. I almost want to play the hot take button for this. I think it's deserving of that, but we already missed our moment. But thank you to Ryan for everything that you've done for us and being on for 2 years in a row, talking the PGA Championship. We love your story. We love having you on. Like we said, Dave is replaced. You can come on any week as a
any week. We'll kick Dave off.
And even if he's supposed to be here, we'll kick him off. He knows that.
Yes.
He's fine with that. So he's got wine to make. But thank you, everyone, for watching. Have a great week.
Thank you to our friends at Golfish for keeping us looking great.
Hey, and check out our other limited time series right now. Her Swing. This week, Heather from Swing Scribe will be our guest on Her Swing. Check out that series. It's a great series about women in golf and everything they're doing to help grow the game.
Friday, 5
Cheers, everybody.